Hello and welcome back to another Coriander Quilt Saturday. I'm excited to be here with all of you today. I think I have a fun video planned for us. I've got a Coriander Fun Find. I have a little tutorial per a viewer question that I received. We've got new backdrop quilts and a viewer quilt that I'm going to be sharing. So I think it's a fun, jam-packed episode, so stick around. So let's start with the backdrop quilts. You guys sold out of the backdrop that we had up last week. So new backdrop quilts it is. We've got a new backdrop bundle available in both paper and PDF versions over in my Etsy shop. And I'm going to chat about the quilts just a little bit before we move on to the next thing. So starting over here, this is Sunny Flowers. It was originally made using my buttercup and slate fabrics. As always, you can find the fabric requirements listed in the Etsy listings of each individual quilt. I'll have them all listed individually, and then I'll have that bigger 5-pattern backdrop bundle listed as well. So Sunny Flowers, this is a wall hanging. It is 45.5 by 45.5. Next up, we'll talk about this one. This one is Beholden 2. I actually have two versions of this quilt. One is larger blocks and one is smaller blocks. So this is the smaller block version, Beholden 2. It is a layer cake friendly quilt. This is a traditionally pieced quilt. There's no templates. It's stitch and flip corners, and it's a fun one to piece. And I love that it gives that grandmother's flower garden look without any templates or hand piecing. So that's Beholden 2. This is made using Sugar Creek prints and Sugar Creek wovens. Down here on the bottom of my ladder, I have Sweetly Shining. This was a collaboration project that myself and Sherry McConnell put together a number of years ago. We did a goodie box featuring some of her fabrics, her and Chelsea's fabrics, and some of my fabrics. And this was the quilt that I designed for that project. It is a Fat Eighth friendly quilt. It uses a little bit of Canning Day, which was my fabric line at that time, and Summer Sweet, which was Sherry and Chelsea's fabric line that was out at that time. And moving over here to this side, we have Turnstile right here. This is a honey bun friendly quilt. This is made using Canning Day. And then the last quilt I have hanging is Barnstar 2, and this one uses Sunny Side Up. So of course you can swap out the fabrics I originally used in any of these quilt patterns for fabrics that are in quilt shops right now. I think they look pretty in so many different fabric lines. So it's a little peek at our new backdrop and of course the new backdrop bundle that is now available. So last week's bundle is gone, no longer available in paper or PDF, but now we have a new bundle and we'll just continue doing that. If you guys sell out of the backdrop quilts in those bundles, when we offer them, we'll just swap it out for something new and fun. Okay. Moving on, I am going to be starting a new segment here some Saturdays. We'll see how many Saturdays, but it is a viewer quilt share segment. I oftentimes receive quilt pictures from you showing me your quilts made using my patterns or using my fabrics, and I enjoy seeing them, and I thought maybe it would be fun to share some of those pictures with my other viewers as well. So I am today sharing a picture that was sent in to me from Mary B. I'm going to have Ryan pop up some pictures. This is the first time we're doing this, so I don't know if he's going to pop it beside me or if you're going to be seeing a slideshow of the photos she sent, but in any event, you're going to be seeing some photos sent to me by Mary B. She used my Barnstar pattern and my Barnstar 6 pattern. Those two, she mixed them together and made 3 blocks of each of those patterns because she needed a king-size quilt. So with that number of blocks, then she also added a piano key border to bring it up to the size she needed for her king-size bed. She used Peachy Keen fabrics, and I thought it was such a great way to mix those two quilt patterns together. I have 10 different Barnstar patterns, and I've often mentioned that you can mix and match them, put them together into larger quilts, and I thought this was a great example of doing just that. So well done, Mary, and thank you for sending me your photo. If any of you want to send quilt photos to potentially be shared in an upcoming video, you are welcome to do that. I have included my email address down in the description box below the video. That's where you always find links I share in my videos and any helpful information. So that is tucked down below. If you ever want to send me a photo to have featured, feel free to do so. If you want to just send a photo but you'd rather not have it featured, you are more than welcome to do that as well. Just mention that you'd rather not have it in the video. But I always like seeing the projects that you guys are working on using my patterns and fabrics. So moving on to Coriander Fun Finds, I have a fun find that showed up in my mailbox just this week. It is this cute set of quilt block bookends. And I thought these were adorable. These were sent to me by Fat Quarter Shop. And can you see those if I do that? I'm not even sure. I'm going to have Nicole come peek. Can you see that block design pretty nicely?
No.
No. Okay, so she is going to grab something that's going to work better while I talk about this a little bit. So these quilt block bookends showed up. Ah, here we go. Okay, I'm going to go snitch that. You're going to be on. Okay. You might have caught a glimpse of her. I'm not sure. But here, take a look at this, Nicole, and see if this works better. If I hold it up like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, you can see what those bookends look like. They are white and they have that quilt block on the ends, and I think they're adorable. So they come in a set of 2, obviously as bookends they would, and I think they're perfect for a quilty little sewing room. So as I was saying, they were sent to me by Fat Quarter Shop. They are available for sale over at Fat Quarter Shop, and you might find yourself with some fun way to use these in your quilting studio or maybe in your living room. These caught my eye because I was just in the market for bookends. I don't know. I know this pink one didn't show up as well on video last week because of the glare of the lights, but it is a strawberry bookend, pink on this side, red on the other side. And so I was looking for different cute bookends, and then these showed up right after I had purchased the strawberry set. So I thought if I had just known about those, these would be a cute alternative as well. So I'm going to have linked to these bookends that are available over at Fat Quarter Shop. I'll link those strawberry ones too. I purchased those on Etsy, and I'll link to those too so that you can get a better look at those, because I think those are just the cutest little things too. So that is our Coriander Fun Find for today. I'm not sure where I'm going to be putting these. I don't know if I'll end up putting them in here or somewhere else, because we do have a lot of books. If you watched one of my recent videos, I chatted about how much we enjoy reading. I guess I only chatted about how much I enjoy reading, but myself, Eleni is very much, she probably reads even more than I do. Ryan is a reader too, but he doesn't read as often, but he does enjoy reading. Chloe is probably our least reader of the family, and even she still enjoys reading quite a bit. She probably would read more nonfiction than she would read a fiction, so, but she still enjoys it as well. We are a reading family. Okay, I'm just going to tuck this off of my table here. We'll move these patterns off the table. And the next thing that I'm going to be sharing, you probably saw this in the thumbnail, and maybe what caught your eye, is I am going to show you guys a tutorial video for some patchwork magnets. This was a viewer question. Let me lay this down so you can look at these a bit better here. This was a viewer question that I got. It's been a while. When I knew I had this question waiting on the back burner, but when I pulled up my question file, it's been a while because it was before Callie & Co. even came into quilt shops. And the question came to me from Julie Boileau, and she says, "Hi, I'm just starting doing quilts, and I started with your small quilts. So beautiful. Can't wait for Callie & Co. to come out. My question is, can you make a short tutorial on how to do your patchwork magnets? I can't figure out the magnets part. Thank you." So what she's talking about are these little patchwork magnets. I have a pattern for these. It's only available in a PDF format. It has completely sold out of the paper version, actually quite a while ago. I don't plan to reprint the paper version, but you can still purchase the PDF version. Now, really, I am going to be sharing quite a bit of what's included in that pattern, so you I think with the information I'm giving you today would be able to make these patchwork magnets on your own without even purchasing the pattern. So you do have that option too, just to kind of follow along and with what I'm sharing today and make them on your own without the pattern. But I wanted to take a little bit of time and go over them because I think it's such a neat project. Sometimes we want something small that we can work on, just a little something to decorate with. We want just a little something to make, a little something to decorate with without a lot of time, investment in supplies, and this project fits the bill. So let me get my cutting table set up with the supplies that we need, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So as I am filming this, you'll be happy to know that my Cuddle Up sampler is still tucked here underneath this table, same as it was last week. I have not started sewing on that at all. Hopefully this week I get a chance to work on that. I'm still just as non-excited to sew on it as I was previously, but maybe this will be the week. It was fun to see how many of you are joining in with sewing those projects that you're not that excited about for the Works in Progress Challenge this month. So maybe with all of us working together on something we're not that excited about, it will be more fun. I think that often is the case, that if you have a friend to do something less exciting, house cleaning, weeding, like those tasks can actually be quite fun if you have the right person to do it with. So I'm excited to have some of you sewing along with me on these maybe less than exciting projects we're not looking forward to finishing. So it's still tucked under there. I thought I would share that with you before I started chatting about this tutorial. Here is what the front cover of the magnet pattern looks like. I'm going to talk about the supplies just a little bit here on the back. This pattern will make 6 magnets as listed using these supplies. So 1 mini charm pack or 27 2.5-inch print squares. This is also a great project to use your scraps with. That's what I have done. I've just grabbed some scraps and cut what I needed. You're going to also need some scraps of batting, just a little piece per magnet, 1 3-inch square per magnet. A little bit of muslin. I have an 1/8 yard of muslin, but again, you can use scraps because you're just using this. This goes on the inside of the magnet. I'll show you that in just a bit. You're not seeing this, so if you had some scrap fabric that you wanted to use, you can. And then you need 6 3/4-inch round ceramic magnets. Now it's important that you get really strong magnets. I tried doing this pattern using just simple, not that sticky magnets, and they're just not strong enough. The way I've written the pattern, we are putting the magnet inside of the magnet, so it does need to have a little bit of power to be able to get through that layer of fabric. Now I like the way it looks enclosing the magnets inside, but you could also like hot glue the magnet to the exterior if you wanted to. I don't think that looks quite as nice. I really do like it enclosed, but you certainly could. I'm going to grab these again here because I'm going to be referencing these quite a bit as we go. So I'm going to take them off here so that while I talk, I can show these to you. All right, now we'll tuck this back down. So as you can see, the magnets are not visible as the pattern is written. And I like the way that looks. So there's my little pile of pretty little magnets. Where do we want to put those? Let's put them up here. You can tell I really enjoyed making these. I thought they were just so fun. These would make great gifts. If you need to tuck in a little something for a quilting friend, they make great gifts. They're fun to make. They don't take that long, and I think they're so cute. Okay. So those ceramic magnets, it's important that they are strong. I purchased mine on Amazon, and I am going to link to the magnets that I purchased, and then coordinating thread, and away you go. Now, the first portion of this pattern just talks about the different pieced little blocks that you can make. What you need is you need a 2.5-inch pieced quilt block or a 2.5-inch square that's not pieced to make these. So that's what the first several pages of this pattern go over, just the different designs here. So I'm not including that in this tutorial, but what I am going to focus on is once you have that, once you have your 2.5-inch either patchwork pieced or piece of fabric, how we turn it into a magnet. That's going to be the focus of this video because that's the part that's a little bit tricky. You could easily, you know, just cut a 2.5-inch square of fabric like I did, or piece some cute little 2.5-inch quilt block, and then all you need is just the how to turn it into a magnet part. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing, once you have your little pieced 2.5 inch, or if you're just starting with a 2.5 inch square like I did, I opted just to fussy cut a 2.5 inch square from my A Bloom fabric line. Right there's where I cut it out and I centered that little flower. And then I did just a simple X machine quilting onto my 3-inch piece of batting. There's no backing, it's just a piece of batting. And you can see there's lots of different ways that we can quilt these. Tiny crosshatch, straight lines, those are both straight lines. This is kind of a little echoed shell sort of shape, a stipple. I did wavy lines on that one, little pebbles on this one, an echoed square design on this one. This is a fancier X where I did 3 lines from each direction coming in from the corners. Little loops. This is just a little wavy sort of pattern. What are you? A little stipple on that one. More little shell loops. I don't even know, long loops on that one. So you can try out a lot of different things on the machine quilting and just have fun with it. Make it as simple or as complex as you would like. But the thing that you're doing in this step is just machine quilting your print fabric square to your batting square. Once you have completed that, you're going to trim the batting even with the magnet front. So we'll go ahead and do that. This is going to be 2.5, and actually, I think I'm just going to use my scissors and do this. You could use your 2.5 inch square, but I'm just going to snip this even using my scissors here. Maybe I should have used my rotary cutter. I'm certainly faster with a rotary cutter than with a scissors, but we're just trimming that even. And then the next thing we're going to be talking about is this little magnet portion. Okay, so that's what you'll have. You just need your quilted little 2.5 inch square, and we're going to set that to the side. In step 2, we're going to be placing this magnet inside these white muslin scrap squares and making kind of a little magnet sandwich. And we're doing this because I didn't like the idea of having this magnet just loose inside here, rolling around from, corner to corner with nothing to hold it in place. So by using this method, we can secure that in the center of our magnet and ensure that it's not going to be cruising around inside our magnet once our project is complete. I have a needle threaded with just a piece of Aurifil. People often ask what kind of thread I use for my piecing. It's the same thread I'm using here today. It's Aurifil thread, 50 weight in the color 2021. I use it for pretty much everything that I do in regard to sewing and piecing. So now what we're going to do here, and you can see it illustrated here, is we are just placing the magnet in between our 2 pieces, our 2 1.5 inch squares of the muslin or scrap fabric in my case. And I'm just going to stitch around here. I might do this off camera if I'm slow at this because no one wants to see me do this for a while. But I have a knot in my thread and it doesn't need to be anything fancy. You're not going to see this. You just want it to be secured in place. And I'm just doing some kind of largish stitches around the perimeter edge of my magnet to keep that centered in between these 2 pieces of fabric. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Ryan will zoom in. He probably has already done so by the time I'm saying this, so that you can kind of see. Whoops. Come here, needle. You can kind of see what's happening here. But this isn't fancy. You're not going to see this. We're just securing that magnet in the center of these 2 pieces of fabric. This doesn't take that long. And pretty soon we'll have it. Okay, I'm going to finish this up and show you what it looks like in just a second. All right, this is what it looks like now. I have sewn around the edges of my magnet. It's mostly centered. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want that mostly centered in there. And now I'm just finishing the back with a little knot. And all I'm doing is running my thread through one of the layers of fabric here and then catching the loop to just sort of knot it in place here. And I usually do that a couple times just to secure that And then I'm just going to snip my little edge off. I had done a couple of those knots before I started filming again. Your magnet may stick to your scissors when you snip it like that. But that's what you're going to end up with. So we've got this little magnet pocket, for lack of a better word. And we're just going to set that to the side. One thing I do want to mention here at this point too is when you are making magnets, they're great for refrigerators or, you know, my decorative magnet board like what I showed earlier. But it is something that you might want to keep away from your sewing machine. Some of the newer sewing machines have quite a bit of electronic computer mechanisms inside of them, and magnets can sometimes interfere with the workings of your sewing machine. So that might be something that you want to keep away from your sewing machine. Don't use it as sewing machine decor. And the way that we are constructing these makes so that you don't have to have that magnet close to your sewing machine at any point in time. So just something to keep in mind with magnets and sewing machines. Might not be something that you would think about being problematic when used in conjunction. So we've got our pieced little square. We've got our little magnet there. The next thing that we are going to do is double check. Now, you're going to see in step 3 here, some magnets have a sticky side and a non-sticky side. If your magnet happens to have one side that sticks and one side that doesn't stick to your magnetic surface, you're going to want to note which side that is because you want your sticky side to be facing towards the back of your magnet. Now, I haven't encountered any magnets that are that way, so my guess is that you're probably not going to have to make any special notes, but just something to keep in mind that some magnets do work a little bit differently. So make sure that your magnet is sticky on both sides. And if not, mark the side that is sticky. Moving on to step 4, using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Sew together your 2.5 inch print squares. So these are the squares that are going to be on the back of our magnets. You'll see that the backs all have 2 different prints. So that's what the backs look like, and you're going to use 2 of your 2.5 inch print squares to make your back. You're going to place these right sides together, and then you're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance to sew just a little bit in from each edge. I'm going to show you what that looks like because it's easier to show than to explain. So I've done it here, and I've actually marked where I've sewn. So these are my 2 squares, right sides together, and I have sewn just a little bit, a 1/2 inch away from the one side, and just a little bit down from the top, and just a little bit up from the bottom. And then I made sure to back stitch very well on that interior spot right there. So let me grab a stiletto here so I can point a little bit better, but right here. So you want to back stitch very well right here and right here. After doing that, you are going to press your seams open, and you'll have an opening right like this. And you'll see, let's see, this is happening all in step 4, where you are sewing and then pressing. Then as we move, and then we trim. So in step 4, we're also trimming. And let me just go ahead and do that. You want to trim this to 2.5 inches, and you want to center that seam. So if you have one of these Creative Grids 2.5 inch rulers, they're nice for this step because they have the center marked. Not all 2.5 inch rulers have the center marked as nicely, but this one is great. So I'm just going to need to trim just a little bit off my right and left side. There. And right there. And that is what the back will look like for your magnet. Now we are ready to move on to step 5, and we are going to place our quilted magnet front right sides together with the magnet back. So just like this, so right sides together. And then you are going to sew a 1/4 inch around the perimeter of this entire little block here. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and do that. And then I'm going to mark that with that blue marker again so that you can see exactly where that seam allowance is running. Here is what this unit looks like now. What I did is I started a 1/4 inch right here, I backstitched a little bit, came down, and then pivoted, came around this side, pivoted up to this side, and then came across here and finished right here, backstitching right at that intersection. So that's what that looks like. The next thing that we want to do is clip our corners just a little bit. This is going to give us less roundy corners. So we're going to snip these. Now you do want to make sure when you are snipping corners that you never go into your seam allowance. You're just snipping them just a little bit. You can see how close I'm getting there. And we do all 4 corners like that. And then we turn our magnet out through this hole that we have here. And that's why it was important that we backstitched right here, because it's going to tug on those seams. And if you haven't backstitched well, it's possible to open that seam up. And we don't want that to open up if we can avoid that. So we're just turning this all out. These are smaller, so sometimes they can be a little bit feisty, but they'll get there. There we go, we're getting him. If you have a little, you see what I have back here, a little turner. I don't know if that's quite the right name, but one of these little guys that you can poke your corners out, that's helpful. If you have one of these Alex Anderson 4-in-1 tools, they also, I have lost my ends, but the end that covers the stiletto is a nice pointy end. And if you have the lid on there, this works great for turning out these little corners, but you just want to kind of give them a little poke to get them all nice and tidy. They don't have to be perfectly pointy. You can kind of see how mine are looking here, but you just want to get those turned out nicely. Okay, and then that's what that's going to look like from the front and then from the back. And then the next step that we want to do is we want to just put this magnet down inside here. And then we just need to stitch this hole shut. And so you're just going to hand stitch that again. Let me get my needle ready here. You'll want to knot your thread. I'm using that same Aurifil thread that I used previously. And I've got a knot there on the end. You want a nice, pretty roomy knot. If you need to add a little bit of extra knots, so you've got a nice size knot on the end of there, you can. I started with a quilter's knot. Now I'm just going to add another little bit there to make my knot a little roomier. I don't want him popping out while I'm sewing. Okay, so I've got a nice big knot there. I'm just going to slide my needle right in that fold right there. And you can pop that knot through. My knot popped through real nice. And then you're going to just catch the other side. This is very similar to how you would do binding if you do hand binding, where you are just letting your thread run in the folds there. And you're just going to go back and forth, securing these edges together. I am not going to do this whole process on camera. It's going to take a few minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time, but we're just sealing this up. Get over there, thread. Sealing up this little backing here and enclosing that magnet on the inside. Now, what you want to do when you start to get to where your magnet is, you're going to want to just duck down in and grab a little bit of that fabric that is over top of the magnet there. And then, whoops, that is going to keep that magnet nice and secure right there in the center. So he's not moving around anywhere. So you'll come from one side, catch a little bit of that fabric, and then you'll come to the other side, go into your fold, and then you will catch it again on the fabric on the inside there. You see how I'm catching a little bit of that fabric right across the magnet, and then come to the other side. And I would be doing smaller stitches. Do smaller stitches, it'll look tidier, but I wanted to get to that magnet portion there so that you could see how you catch that magnet. And then you just keep going all the way down and then finish up over on the other side and then knot your thread. And that is going to seal that magnet in there. That magnet will stay in place nicely for you because you've caught that fabric in there with your stitches as you were hand stitching the back shut. And then that is what your little magnet is going to look like. I'm going to put my needle there for a little bit. We'll just stick him right on this board with the other ones. You can see how cute that's going to look. Just like so. And then you can add him to your other little magnets that you've made and really spruce up your refrigerator in a super cute way. Or if you have a magnet board that you like, it's just a fun way to add a little quilted touch. So that is a somewhat quick tutorial on how to make patchwork magnets. As I said, I do have this pattern for sale over in my Etsy shop, but I've covered a lot of what is included, and you are welcome to take screenshots as I was talking. I had, those instructions actually here. Let me just make that handy for you. I'll just set these out right here. So this is the portion that talks about adding the magnets. So you go ahead and you take a screenshot of that or pause it and save it or whatever you want to do so you've got that information for how you turn that 2.5-inch square into a patchwork magnet. And then if you purchased the pattern, you would have some piecing instructions for how you make the various different patchworky bits. But I showed you how to make one using just a 2.5-inch square, and I think that is pretty cute, even without any sort of piecing on that, especially if you did some really fancy quilting. That would just be really cute. So that is the last thing I wanted to share today. If you have any questions that you would want to have answered in an upcoming video, you are welcome to share those in the comments below. Just leave the word question in all caps. It makes it easier for us to go through the comments and find those questions. So leave the word question in all caps, and then I will add your question to my list, and it might be featured in an upcoming video. Thank you so much for stopping by. I will catch you again next time.